what would you counsel them on how to deal with that situation?
Well, being today's day and age, there are more women in the trades right now, and a lot more women that are taking on foreman's roles and heads of companies. So, what I would say is seek out those women.
Mm,
Go talk to them, ask their opinion. You see what they've lived through and what they've done, and if they had any advice for you going forward. I mean, back then when I was there, I was the only woman in the local, and I was under, you're kind of under a microscope. Everything you
yes.
do is amplified, whether it's right or wrong. It's bigger than it is, So that's what it was at that time. So with now today's day and age, I'm on a job right now where every other person is a woman. It seems like. I mean, there's so many, and to me, it's amazing.
What's going on, L&M family? Jesse here, and I have Mr. Michael Fina with ULA Network, who is going to be helping us introduce today's guest, Miss Carole Raftrey. You've heard just a little clip of her, but he went out of his way to hook us up, and so I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Michael. Tell us about ULA Network and Miss Carole, please.
Yes, Jesse, thank you again for having me on today, and look forward to future opportunities to work with you. Learnings and Missteps is doing some incredible work, highlighting and interviewing people that inspire me within the trades. And that's how we connected on social media. Just a little bit about the ULA Network. The Union Labor Advisory Network is a site to support, educate, and promote informative content relative to our union labor community. And for the past 15 years, I've been supporting labor from a banking perspective. And with financial technology enhancing a lot of the world, labor is starting to embrace a lot of that information, how we move money and things of that nature. And I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of labor executives, union presidents and business managers, as well as their supporting staff and executive board, learning how to work and support their mission through apprenticeship opportunities, diversity in labor, women in the trades. And it's really been inspiring to me because that's the lifeblood of these labor organizations. And as we look to train what these career paths are, Carole has been an inspiration to me, one of my clients, and just learning, a little bit more about her through a recent conference and having her experience over the past 30 years in the trades as an iron worker for Local 197. I thought it would be a perfect opportunity for us to get her on your platform, to have you do what you do with Learnings and Missteps. And I wanted to get her connected and through future opportunities like this, promote labor in the best possible way. So I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, again, to interview Carole and show the world what the trades are all about, get her some recognition for what she's been doing, and hopefully inspire other women to join that career path as well. So thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Mr. Mike. And just in case y'all missed it, L&M family, keep an eye out for this type of collaboration in the future because Mr. Michael Fina with ULA Network is going to be helping out the effort, right? Breaking some sweat to make it happen because we want to get the stories out there and we want to celebrate the men and women out there doing it, all to enhance the image of careers in the trades. So here we go, Miss Carole. Dang it, I got super excited recording that opening with Mike Fina, working with people out there in the industry that are about enhancing the image of careers in the trades. Just gets me like super, super juiced up. But we cannot forget to shout out all of our patrons out there. Thank you all very much for contributing, for signing up for the membership levels that you've signed up for. It means a lot for you to go out of your way and sign up for the different subscriptions and put some money in on this bad boy. We love it. We are grateful to you for that. For L&M family members that are interested in contributing in any way, head on over to learningsandmissteps.com, hit the become a member button, and then it's going to take you to another button. And then you'll get to select the level that you want to participate in. We love you for thinking about us. Share, comment, all of the good things, give us ratings, all that stuff. But if not, just listen and smile. And here goes another great one. What's going on, L&M family? I am here with Miss Carole Raftrey. Did I get that right, Miss Carole?
You certainly did.
Awesome. How are you this morning?
I'm good. It's a holiday
Oh,
weekend, a long weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Everything's good.
yes. Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much for making this time. I mean, it's Saturday, July 2nd right now. We're recording right before the holiday week, and I have a bad habit of like forgetting about holidays. And when you, Mike, and myself were talking about, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the holiday weekend," and you're like, "Yeah, it's cool. We could do it." It's like, yes, excellent. And so you're in New York City,
Yes, I am. I'm in Brooklyn, New York right now.
Brooklyn, New York. So Mike, I think we introduced him as like Boogie Down Brooklyn, and then when I recorded the opening, I said Boogie Down Bronx, and I got in a little bit of trouble there, so I don't want to mess it up this time.
Oh, oh.
That's a bad thing, huh?
Yes.
Oops, my bad. Sorry, Mike. Oh my goodness, I'm excited to have you here. So, Miss Carole, what should the L&M family know about you?
Huh. Well, I'm a 30-year iron worker in New York City. We specialize in the stone derrickman and riggers local 197. It's part of the International the Iron Workers. But what we do is the facades of buildings. We do the stone work on the outside of it. And I started at a young age in this business, and now I'm pretty close to my retirement. And I became president of the local 2 years ago.
So you say you started at a young age, and that's like super, super interesting. What was it that attracted you or pulled you into this?
Well, I had graduated college and there was a recession going on. So when I went out to get a job in the field that I went to school for, there was nothing there. But the apprenticeship had opened up, and my father was in the union at that time, and he said, "Come in, try to get in. You know, if you like it, you could stay with it. If you don't, you can go back out when things pick up in the economy and go back
Nice.
to what you were doing in college."
So you like went to college, did your education, finished it, and then got into the trade. So in college, what was it that you were focused on?
It was actually broadcast management, you know, getting the commercials, putting them in the spot, getting the Nelson numbers and showing which show should be played at what time. So I was always a numbers person. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, and how did you get exposed to that? That's like kind of specialized and unique stuff.
Yeah, well, I went in to do, you know, I was always fascinated by TV. I grew up in the TV age. You know, we all sat in front of the TV every night, watched TV. I was thinking it'd be cool to see how things got made and produced. So I kind of went into that part of it, like producing radio shows, doing little shows for the campus television. And then I said, you know, I don't have that talent, but I do like the numbers, and I figured this show should be slotted into this. And once I took a class about Nelson ratings, I thought that was interesting. And I felt
Oh,
that
wow.
that would be part of what I could do.
So like all the
Uh,
science behind all the stuff that's on TV.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, you know some of the L&M family members out there have no idea what TV was like back then. Like, remember the big giant console televisions, big wood frame?
It took 3 guys to carry. Yeah, it was a piece of furniture. It wasn't, you know, a picture on the wall anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you couldn't
yeah.
mount it on the wall. If you wanted to change the channel, somebody had to get up and physically change the channel. And there were like 3 channels back
Yeah,
then.
yeah. That's it.
So what kind of cool stuff? I mean, now we have social media out there, YouTube, we got all kinds of stuff where like people can consume content and information. What kind of parallels do you see now with what you learned back when you were in university?
Uh, Back then they were talking about like 24-hour news cycles. This was before CNN, MSNBC, and you know, people getting on computers. Even back then, not everyone had a computer when I went to college. I'm kind of
Yeah.
showing my age right now, but that's the way it was. And they were talking about all that, and I never thought it would come true. But
Mm,
now here we are in the 24-hour news cycle. You have a computer in your pocket. It's your cell phone now. I mean, when I had my first computer, took up my dining room table, you know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, I mean, that's what they talked about. And for some reason, I was like, how can you have 24 hours of news, 24 hours of TV? Because back when I was young, TV went off at 2 o'clock in the morning, came back on at 6, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes. It
yeah.
would have that sound, right? And then it would do the squigglies and then nothing's
Yeah,
on. And then it would come
that's
back.
it. Yeah.
I remember. Oh man, times have changed dramatically.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So went to university, got into the trade, and we'll come back to that. But it obviously you fell in love with it. And you're doing a whole lot of amazing things out there for the people doing the work. Before you went to university, what was in your head around career? Like the earliest memory you can have about what you wanted to do when you grew up.
I'm not really sure. I was always, I kind of fell into everything I did. I just kind of wandered around. I really didn't have, like, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be an astronaut. No, I never had that. It was just I wanted to be part of something, that
Mm,
would make a difference.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, when I got into college, that's like I said, I thought something was interesting. I would go take a class in it, and if I thought it was very interesting, I continued with it. I just wanted to do something different. I guess that's what it
Yeah.
was when I got there. Yeah,
No,
something.
I think what's important about that is I remember back when I was in middle school and high school, it's like you got to know what you want to do, your career, and like all this stuff. And my experience has been if I just follow what's interesting to me, right? Like what makes me feel challenges my mind and provides an opportunity for share my gifts and talents, I'll do all right. I'll do pretty damn good
Right.
actually.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and so
it's
like
true.
that path, it doesn't have to be defined. It's almost always changing. I
Mhm.
mean, like now you're the president of your local union, is that correct?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah.
And so was that like back when you got into apprenticeship, did you chart out, okay, I'm going to finish my apprenticeship program, I'm going to work on these big, giant, amazing projects, and now I'm going to be the president of the local union? Is that how it came about?
No, I actually didn't. I just got in, I started working, and I would kind of sit back and listen as an apprentice to everyone talking about how the union worked, how it functioned, where the funds were, how things were, money was getting spent in the funds, how we were making interest. And again, the numbers. So it kind of grabbed
Wow.
me. And I'm like, all right, so if we invested here, then that should happen here. And then it was just like I kind of just started listening. And then when I got out of the apprenticeship, I was like, well, 3 years ago we tried it this way and it didn't work. Why do you think it's going to work now? And they're like, how do you know it did? I was like, I was part of the union. I could hear what was going on. Just because I was an apprentice didn't make me, as insignificant. But I just kept my mouth shut and just listened to things. And again, I kept voicing my opinion and,
Yeah.
things of that nature, going to all the union meetings, going to any classes they had, asking questions, talking to people, and say, eventually somebody came up to me and said, well, you got to put your money where your mouth is. Why don't you run for some office and and figure out things? And I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. In a couple of years, when I have a couple more years experience in the business, I'll do it. And later on that month at the union meeting, it was nominations for office, and all of a sudden that guy just stood up and nominated me for a union trustee position. I said, I guess it's time to put my money where my mouth is, and I accepted it, and I won the position. And I
Oh
was like,
my
all right,
goodness.
that's when it started.
Oh,
Again, one of those things I just kind of drifted into, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they talked to you about it, and you were like, yeah, yeah, sure, in a couple of years.
Hmm.
And then like a month or two later, boom, you're in it. You're
Yeah.
sitting, you got an office.
I'm getting sworn into the office. I was like, okay, now I got to put up or shut up.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, but that's a really important that's a really important lesson. I remember I worked I was working with? Ed Maldiso. He was a pipe fitter. I was his helper. I think it was like my second year of apprenticeship. So I was his helper for a little while. Hard man, but man, he taught me so much.
Hmm.
Anyhow, he would tell me, he's like, Jess, because I'm kind of opinionated, and he would say, Jess, it's good that you voice what bothers you, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Like if you don't speak up, you're just going to be stuck in the situation you're in. He said, but you got to remember, the broken wheel gets replaced. So if all you're doing is squeaking, you're gonna get replaced. Like, oh, that's a whole different
That's true. That is true.
Okay, so you got like thrown into this position. How did you go about like figuring out how to serve in that role and accomplish the things that you wanted to accomplish that also helped the rest of your people?
Well, I grabbed a hold of all the books, the Constitution, the bylaws, started reading them, and if I didn't understand something, I would go to somebody that I respected within the local that had some years in, and he was like what you said, a hard man, kind of quiet, but knew everything, remembered everything, and I would ask him questions, and at first he blew me off, but then when I would keep going back to him, I go, come on, I know you know the answers to these things. What's going on here? What is it? What am I supposed to be doing? And eventually he just said, you know what, you're persistent. You're kind of a pain. He goes, I got to answer your question. Otherwise you're never going to go away. And he did. And I took his perspective, and then I would go ask somebody else that was kind of a different personality from him, their perspective, and kind of took it to took both sides of it and went to the business manager and go, I think this is what the position is I'm supposed to be doing. And he goes, yes and no. He goes, some of it's right, some of it's wrong. And he would coach me. And he goes, you know what? You should keep thinking about, running for office. He goes, you kind of take all sides of it and look at what the problem is and try to break it down and see what can be solved and what can't be solved. And who's best to solve them too.
Yes.
You can't do it all yourself,
No.
Yeah.
So how did you, that's like a super cheat code. How did you figure that out, that you can't do it all yourself?
I would say being young and dumb and trying to do it all myself and kind of screwing things up.
Oh yeah.
With age comes wisdom, I have to tell you.
And it's the bumps and bruises, right? A friend of mine, Fernando, calls it the learning scars, right?
Yes.
Those lessons that we had, that, man, there's a really good story tied to that lesson, and it didn't feel good at the time.
Yes.
Okay, so you had finished apprenticeship, and then you got an office, your first office.
Mm-hmm.
How does that, like, so I'm assuming that you're still out installing full time, and you're serving in this office as extracurricular or just serving your community.
Yes, I'm still in the field working, and along with that, I'm the president. I have to oversee a lot of the funds and where the money's being spent, invested, things of that nature. Yeah, so it's kind of it's like having two jobs.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
And then you like have a life outside of all of that, I'm sure.
I try to, yeah.
Oh, so in your career, what kind of changes have you seen in terms of the people that are doing the work, the way it's being managed? Have you seen any significant changes in that space?
Oh, tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the economics of it. Everyone's trying to do it with less people. Um, we do a lot of precast work, so there are heavy precast panels that go on the outside. What they do now is make the panels even larger. Instead of having to set 2 or 3 panels, they figure, oh, we can truck one panel that's the size of 3. So they're getting bigger, heavier, more connections to them, a lot more details to it. So, I mean, yes, everything is getting, how can we say, downsized. I mean, when I started in, you would have 10 people in a gang doing work, and now you could do a job with 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has changed a lot.
How about safety? Do you see a significant different in maybe rephrase that, not safety necessarily, but has the work become easier on the people doing the work?
Oh, no. I mean, you have less people to do it, and it's getting heavier.
Mm.
So no, it's not getting easier for anybody. And kind of what we do, technology is very little impact with technology.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of old school, put the rod in, pick it up with a bar, moving around that way. High tech to us is maybe a porta power and an electric drill. I mean, we're still iron workers. We're still kind of doing it all hands on.
No
So
lasers?
yeah, we do lasers for the setting and doing layout. Yes, so that's like the biggest technology there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's a
yeah,
significant shift. I came up as a plumber, and so I came up using a plumb bob, right? Like we
yep,
didn't have a laser. You had a plumb bob.
yep.
And I went out to a project one time, and I'm like, guys, what's going on? Like, well, where's so and so? Well, he went to the gas station to get batteries. I was like, batteries for what? We can't do anything because the batteries are dead. Like, we didn't have extra batteries for the laser. I'm like,
Yep.
you're kidding me. I'm like, bro, get your plumb bob. And like, what's that? Like, and right there in that moment, I knew, like, oh wow, man, like this is just a different place altogether.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if I had a laser over a plumb bob, it's a lot easier to use that darn laser.
Yes, yes, it is. It's so much easier. No wind. If the wind's blowing, your plumb bob is, blowing around. Yeah. No, the lasers have made life so much easier. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then the wind. So you're talking about wind, and like I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I've done some work around, Texas, but I don't think I've been as high as you have out in New York City. What kind of heights do you have you worked on putting these exterior facades on these buildings?
Uh, I think the highest I've been was 82 stories. Yes.
Yes, you can just see everything, huh?
It's amazing. The sights you see, very few people will ever see. Once that building's occupied, very few people will be there. And it's amazing. Just from the first job I was on in Manhattan, if I was to go back there, the skyline has completely changed. It's
Oh yeah,
amazing how much development is in New York City. Yeah.
it's nuts. I was there, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and it didn't matter where I was. There was some work going on. There's a
Hmm.
tower crane somewhere. There's like real work happening. You can see craft workers walking with their hard hats or their vests or their lunch, like just tons and tons of work happening out there. So you got to see TV transform. You got to see the New York City transform, and you're transforming along with it. I've been able to go and talk to high school students about careers in the trades. And, a lot of times they'll ask, what kind of skills and all this stuff, right? I'm like, hold on. I say, let's step back from what you need to bring to the organization and let's talk about you. And this was my simple example. Like, if you're a very social person, like you need human contact on the regular, this could work for you.
Yep.
And you can work on a team because there's a lot of teamwork, there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of sometimes drama, right? Like there's
Hmm.
stuff. But if you think you want to be a welder and you're a very, very social person, that might not work out. And I'm like, well, why? Like, do you have to be a social person? Like, no. When you're a welder, you're under the hood all the time.
Right.
And when you're under the hood, you ain't talking to nobody.
Hmm.
And so that environment is not designed to nurture some of the needs that you have. And the inverse of that, if you're introverted and you'd rather not talk to people, because believe me, sometimes I just rather not talk to people. Um, Maybe being a welder is a perfect career for you because you get to isolate from the world and just focus on your work and get that done. What do you think about that?
No, it's very much true. I mean, I've done a lot of welding in my career, and it's true. You put that shield down and you're on your own world and working away. And I'm basically an introvert. I like some downtime from being around people, and so welding was good for me. I could just drop the shield and just burn some rod and have some like cute, quiet time. And
Yeah.
then, but then, if, like you said, if you're an extrovert, welding's going to kind of drive you a little batty. You're going to be in your own thoughts all night, for 8 hours a day and not talking to anybody. You're going to be the guy with the shield on talking to yourself.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
I'd be working in a mechanical room. Then I would just go in the mechanical room because I like the complexity of it, right? I'm going to be all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it's a lot. Like, it kept my mind engaged. But I found out they would put me in the mechanical room because I was always talking and I was just like too loud. But even in the mechanical room, I'm singing, I'm talking to myself. I'm like, they're like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, what's going on? Come on in. We're having a party. Who's here? Just me.
But that's the good part of the trades. You can have different types of characters within one group of people working on a project, different personalities, and it's really a social environment. You're
Yes.
working hard and you're joking around. The thing is, like I said, I like the detail parts and the number parts. That's what always fascinated me. But I also love the challenge of building something.
Oh, man.
And that's the one thing with everybody that's in the trades, especially what I do, is like, we work hard, we get dirty, it's dangerous work, but at the end of the day, you can take your kids walking around Manhattan and go, hey, look, I built that. I worked on that. You could take your kids or your family or anybody and say, I worked on that. I did this right here. I did the facade here. And that's a benefit of it. You're very social. And again, you just want to be there to build something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I miss the most? It's been a long time since I've had my tools on. But what I miss the most is at lunch break and at the end of the day, I could turn around and look at what I did, look at what I accomplished. Like right now, today, sometimes I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have to rework that because it looks like mess. But like the further I got away from the work with promotions and whatever, like that went away. You don't get to see the results of your work that quickly.
Yes.
Sometimes it's years. And do you deal with that, or how does that manifest itself with the leadership role that you have with the union?
It's you could be dealing with a problem. I mean, right now the stock market is a mess, so we've been dealing with a lot of problems with the pension and that we have in the annuity, trying to keep from losing as much, unfortunately. So you really don't see that right away. It's not like at the end of the day, you're tired, you're dirty, you're sweaty, you look up and go, oh, look, that looks pretty good. We did a nice job. Here, it's like, all right, we're sitting here, we're talking, we're strategizing and trying to make sure that the funds keep growing.
Yep.
And, it's like, all right, we'll wait till next quarter to see the results. And it's like, no, I like immediate gratification. That's my job. I can see exactly what I did. I'm not going to wait another 90 days to see what happens. So it's stressful. But that's where that comes in, knowing what has happened over the years. So sometimes you can do the same mistakes over and over again. But if you remember that, oh, we tried it this time and the market was doing the same thing, it didn't work. Let's try a different route. But no, that stuff is hard for me not to see an immediate result. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was a perfect backdrop for that conversation because, man, there's serious consequences, right? And you make a decision, you just got to let it play out. And that ain't fun.
No, not today's market. No, not at all.
No. Believe me, I've been checking them out like, oh God, like leave it alone, just leave it alone. I don't need to make any drastic moves yet. Oh my goodness, the stress.
As president, you're not just looking at your finances. You're looking at every family within that local's finances.
Oh, that's a ton of responsibility. So I imagine that brings some degree of stress. um, maybe a lot. How do you handle what do you do to manage that stress to like make sure that you're healthy and you're filling your own cup?
Uh, I step away every so often. I'll take a long weekend, go with my family upstate, and spend some time with the rest of my family, or we'll go on vacations, just take a drive and go
Nice.
somewhere. But you have to check out every so often and shut down those thoughts and just recharge those batteries. You really do. That's
Yes,
what I
yes.
do. Hmm.
It's man, it's a habit that I've gotten pretty good at it lately. But man, most of my career, it was just like I could not take time off. I would not take time off until I had one boss, Wesley Baker. No, 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 no. Maybe it was Tom. Tom had pointed out, it's like, Jess, you realize that you get sick every 4 to 6 weeks. I'm like, what do you mean get sick?
Hmm.
He's like, yeah, every 4 to 6 weeks, you disappear for like a day or two. And I know I don't. He's like, and he had a calendar. He's like, yeah, you do. Look right here, right here. Like, oh, wow.
Oh wow.
And like, well, I have vacation time. He's like, no. He's like, yes, you do, Jess. But here's the problem is you're working to burnout and you don't
Hmm.
have to burn out. Like what you need to do is start scheduling time to take time, like on purpose,
Yes.
take time off and have fun, go relax, and you're burnt out. I'm like, he's like, what do you do? I was like, nothing. I just turn off my phone, turn off the computer, and lay down and wait till I feel better. He's like, yeah, man, that's not vacation, bro.
No. No, that's not. Well, I tell you, when I was younger and I was just trying to make a name for myself in the business, and that I would do the same thing. I would go
Really?
until one day I woke up, I can't go to work today. I just don't have the energy,
Yep.
and just sleep all day. And I was like,
Yep.
this isn't living. This is, surviving.
Yes.
So in the last few years, I do. I make sure I take time for myself. A few days off. Don't answer the phone. Leave the computer at home. And even if we just, take a drive to Pennsylvania and just look at the leaves turn. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
Oh,
doesn't have to be a trip to another country. It could be in your own neighborhood. Yeah,
mm. Just change your environment,
that's it.
unplug, leave all the garbage at the house, and go for man. That's beautiful. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to
yeah.
find so here in San Antonio, it's green or it's brown. Like
Right.
we don't have a lot of colors. But the hill country's nice. Maybe that's what I need to do. Get my bike and bicycle. Let me be clear, bicycle. Have a bicycle.
That's it. Go
And maybe
hiking. Yeah,
yeah, go
yeah. Nice
hiking.
walk in the woods. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, that's the
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
How about I'm pretty sure Texas ain't the only place struggling with this. How is the market with apprentices and getting new folks into your trade?
Uh, Surprisingly, it's not that easy. I mean, a year ago, we opened up our apprenticeship. We had 250 applications to give out, and I think we gave out 170. And I was amazed that,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah, I was amazed that we didn't give out all of them and had people banging on the door for more. Yeah,
Wow.
I was shocked. I was shocked. I don't know. Maybe it's this new cancel culture. Or I don't know. My niece started telling me about it, and I was like, "You can't live your life canceling things you don't like." I don't know. I don't know. But it was hard. It was hard keeping the apprenticeship going these last few years because that last list was so low. But prior to that, we were giving everything out, and people were still knocking on the door trying to get in. I don't know,
Wow.
maybe COVID had something to do with the step back from working.
Yeah,
Mm,
I wish it was a simple problem, but I think it's a
mm,
super complicated problem. I mean, I know me when I entered apprenticeship back in '95, there weren't a lot of people in apprenticeship. And like my first year of apprenticeship, I was the youngest guy. I was 18, and everybody else was like 25 and up.
mhm.
Um, and I'm like, what is like this is good for me because they're all older than me. So that means they're gonna retire before me, so by the time we get then, I'm gonna make a lot of money. Like simple math, and it was
Right.
true. It worked
Yeah.
out, and it does. It see everywhere I go. I've been able to travel, the country, work on the East Coast, West Coast, Central United States, and with general contractors, and they celebrate. Yeah, we got the job. And right after they celebrate getting the job, like, damn it, who's going to build it? Because getting people has been a challenge. And it's like this constantly growing challenge to get new people into the industry. And that's part of the reason for the podcast, right? So that we can show them like the human side of amazing people like you out there and share the experience, and like not just the cussing, sweating, struggling side of it, but there's also some other really great things about it. And I feel like we all got to do something to make this thing better, because there's just more and more construction happening, amazing careers and opportunities like yourself serving in a big way, helping a lot of families and a lot of people that I just think people aren't aware about. They think we just I'm a plumber, so I show up with my plunger and I plunge all day. It's like that. No, there's so much more going on.
Right.
So many more opportunities. Okay, so here comes the revealing question, Miss Carole. You've got some years, you've been out there in the field, you've served in some pretty influential roles. And I imagine along the way, you've had maybe one or two learnings and missteps. And so the question is, what is a significant learning you had as a result of a painful misstep?
I would say it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. There was an opportunity for me to be a super for a company.
Ah,
And at that time, I was still, I knew I could do the job. I didn't know if I had what it took to be a super at the time. And as it was going on, a few people came up to me and said,
oh man, I know it was just getting good. And here I am breaking up the flow again. But I can't help myself. If you want the rest of this tasty morsel of goodness, head on over to our YouTube channel and look for the Backstage Pass playlist. You're going to find this one and a whole library of previous Backstage Passes where our guests share like super intimate stuff, like ultimate cheat codes for self-discovery and personal growth. There's a lot of value there for you and for any of the younglings in your life. And if you want to get this fire, this Backstage Pass fire before anybody else does, go on over to learningsandmissteps.com, hit the become a member button, do all the stuff you need to do, select a thing. But everybody that becomes a patron will get first access to every single Backstage Pass that we record going forward. And just in case you missed it, those funds are going to contribute to enhancing the image of careers in the trade. 80% of that is going to be going to Skilled Trades Alliance. The other 20%, the Learnings and Missteps, is going to keep that to pay taxes and do some other things. We are blessed and we are fortunate, and we are here to spread the love and share the wealth with people that are carrying the same mission and demonstrating the behaviors that we see. Okay, that's enough. Now we're going back to the show. Peace. So, with that big lesson you had, what advice would you have for somebody in a similar situation? Because it's happening right now. Like, no doubt, somebody's living through that right now. What would you counsel them on how to deal with that situation?
Well, being today's day and age, there are more women in the trades right now, and a lot more women that are taking on foreman's roles and heads of companies. So what I would say is seek out those women, go talk to them, ask their opinion. You see what they've lived through and what they've done, and if they had any advice for you going forward. I mean, back then when I was there, I was the only woman in the local, and I was you're kind of under a microscope. Everything you do is amplified, whether it's right or wrong. It's bigger than it is, so that's what it was at that time. So with now today's day and age, I'm on a job right now where every other person is a woman. It seems like. I mean, there's so many, and I to me, it's amazing to see that, and it actually is fun. Yeah.
But
there were days when I was the only woman on the job altogether. So
I
nowadays you have those people around you to go talk
yes,
to. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being on job it was like years and years. Man, it had to have been 8 years. Her name was Debbie before I worked with a woman on a job site. Like the first 8 years of my career in commercial plumbing, no ladies. Like
Hmm.
there might have been a lady in the office, in the trailer, but like out there doing like building with us,
Right.
it was nobody. And then Debbie, and man, she had it going on. And now there's a significant difference in the companies, like the general contractors and the trades.
Hmm.
They'll have like a high concentration of women, very diverse workforce, and others still don't. Like
Yeah.
they're still, playing that game. We got a long way to go in terms of providing facilities, like respectable facilities just for the men and the women. When I say facilities, I'm talking about like porta potties,
Oh,
right? And somewhere to eat. Like, where can I go take care of my business and where can I eat? And often those spaces aren't great. And then
yeah.
factor in like for a lady, like we got a lot of work to do. We got a ton of work to do in that regard. But there are some amazing organizations and amazing leaders out there that are making that happen. Man, I just got to ask this question. So, being like the sole woman out on the jobs for a long time, having the kind of influence and responsibility, serving for the union, having offices within the union, like I can only imagine that felt lonely for a long period of time.
It did. It
Yeah.
did. Well, there was another woman who was part of another local, and we became friendly. So it was good. We could talk to each other. We bounce ideas off each other. We'd call and just vent.
Yeah.
Yeah, or vent and then talk, about everything
Mhm.
besides work and all that. That was good. And then when she retired, and there was a little bit of a gap between another woman being within my trade, and it really was. It was like, you can't call up. I mean, the men I work with are great. There are
Yeah.
not too many that aren't. There are excellent men, but a woman talking to a woman is a lot different than a woman talking to a man,
Yes.
and it's like
Yes.
men talking to men. They're not going to talk the same way with a woman. So it's different. So it was at that point in time when she retired, and it really was. It was like, what am I doing here? I'm like, should I stay?
Mm.
And then I did the math, and I was like, all right, you got 10 years to go, and you could get a pension and get another career, but don't let that pension go.
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. And so yeah, there was a point in time where it was, and now right now in our local, we got a few more women coming in, and it's actually getting good. Now I'm kind of the mentor now.
Oh,
Stepping into that other role, and it feels weird, but it's nice. It's nice because when they come to me and they ask stuff or they talk about stuff, I was like, I've been through that. I've been through that, and my friend helped me understand what was going on there. Well, let's sit down and talk here. And it's my new role now. It's strange. I don't feel that old, but I am, so I have to deal with it.
now you're the wise one, right? That offers all
Right?
the support and advice. That's
Yes.
amazing. That's just kind of how things go. I remember I was the hot shot for a long time, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, everybody's asking me questions. Like, man, why are you always asking me? Like, well, you know everything. You've been here forever. Like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, slow down. But that's really, I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Our purpose, in my mind, our purpose as humans on this rock is to learn and share our experiences to help others, right? Live in service to others, and everything else just kind of works out.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you see a young apprentice or young lady really thriving in the trades and in this environment, someone that you've been supporting or coaching along the way?
Oh, I feel great. I feel
Yeah.
great. It makes my day. I just smile from ear to ear when I see that they're thriving, they're making a good living, they're getting shit done. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's what you do. That's what you do, man. I'm thank you for being on the show with us. Uh, you're an amazing human being. I hope this thing blows up. So we're gonna turn round third base here and start sliding into home. So
Okay.
this question is, what footprint do you want to leave on the world?
On the world. I was just looking in my corner of it, but I just want to leave the footprint that somebody that looks like me, maybe isn't that loud, or very quiet, kind of introvert, give a chance, get a chance in in the trades, really, in construction. Um, I might not look like when I first started in the business, I'd walk on a job and people would be like, "Oh God, why did I get stuck with her? She doesn't look like she could pick up, a tool, let alone use it."
Hmm.
I just want to leave that footprint that, yeah, you don't have to look like the big tough person. You can be able to go into the trades and learn your way through it and become productive and just kind of, have be somebody that somebody could look up to.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes. Well, I've only known you for a very short period of time, Miss Carole, and you are somebody that I look up to. I mean, the things that you've overcome and you've persevered through, I can only relate, empathize to a small degree because, I've never been the only one. And being the only one ain't easy. And then taking on the responsibilities that you've taken on, just kind of thrown into them. Again, that coupled with being the only one and having very little people that look like me. I mean, I'm in San Antonio, Texas, so there are a lot of people that look like me. So it's a little easier overcoming those hurdles, and just the fact that you've done it and you're still out there pushing and having a positive, forward-looking mindset about it. Like it doesn't appear that you've let it make you bitter. It doesn't appear like you've let it steal any life from you. That's an accomplishment, sister. Like that's big time. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Yeah.
So any people you want to shout out?
Just the stone darkening riggers of Local 197, New York City. Let's keep
Yeah.
building. Let's do it.
That was Miss Carole Raftrey. And I'm pretty sure that you got as moved about our industry and about the work that we're doing as I did when I was listening, when I had the privilege of like interviewing her and having that interaction live. What y'all don't know is we had some technical difficulties to get started, but true to form, she just pushed on through and we made it happen, finally got on, and she was cool as a cucumber. Someday I am going to meet her and shake her hand. And so now it's time for the L&M family shout out. And this one goes to Mr. Armando Tunales, who I'm probably going to be hanging out with here in the next week or so. Armando says, I met a dude named Jesse a few months back, and my life hasn't been the same since. I learned the guy is vulnerable and has helped me to be a maker happener. And if there's anything to aspire to, y'all, it is to be a maker happener. There are all kinds of things out there in the world that need your gifts and talents, and you have them. And all you got to do is apply them just a little bit. And through the process of applying them over and over and over again, getting better, you too will be a maker happener. So thank you, Mr. Armando. We'll be seeing you soon. And to the rest of the L&M family, we love you. Leave us some comments on any of the socials, and we will be digging through them to give you a shout out for sure. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk again soon. Peace. Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You have been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.